Hi again, everyone. One more video for you guys today. The season finale of Andor Season 2 was last night. I watched the episodes and I'm ready to give my full thoughts of the season as a whole and do a full review. Now, this season, I liked pretty much the whole production. I thought it was a great production. It was easily the biggest praise I have for this series, and the overall production value, the set design, set locations, costume design, all of that. It just felt so authentic and real, and easily the best aspect of this show to me, as well as the acting. Everyone in this show really just nail their roles in this series. The actress playing Mon Mothma, and Cassian Andor, everyone, and especially Stellan Skarsgard as Luthen, and the arc that he went through from season 1 to season 2 was definitely fascinating. And he's kind of this cold-hearted kind of guy in a way, and he's giving everything to the rebellion, and eventually the rebellion forms. And I like how that goes, especially in the last few episodes that we had last night, and how that kind of transpired sort of without Luthen. I'm not going to spoil what happened in last night's episodes, but the way they start to conclude things, I thought was really well done. Even though, in the beginning of the season, there are some subplots that happen specifically surrounding Mon Mothma's character that I felt wasn't sure where things were going to go in the grand scheme of things with these subplots. And as a result of that, and also the slow pace near the beginning of the season, I wasn't fully hooked with the first half of the season. And as a result of that, I really am impressed with some of the writing, especially in episodes 7 to 9, easily some of the best episodes throughout the whole season and even the whole show, that I thought was so well done. And also, with how they're starting to link up to Rogue One with the last couple episodes last night, I thought were really fascinating. And I was expecting a little bit more, I was kind of expecting maybe another cameo from Mads Mikkelsen, maybe Galen Erso. I was expecting it. They referenced his character, Galen Erso, in the last couple episodes, but he never showed up. And that's one other thing. I was just kind of expecting just a little bit more in regards to connective tissue, and also, granted, I mean, there's enough there. There is. I just feel like they could have had a few more extra special cameos, and just help it bridge the gap just a tad bit more with Rogue One. But also, one other thing I want to address, talking about last night's episodes, the final episode, episode 12, while it did conclude some things throughout the show as a whole, there were also some things that were unresolved. And also, it didn't feel like a finale in the sense that it didn't feel like the end of the story. And granted, if you want the full complete story and the full complete conclusion, just watch Rogue One. That's the complete conclusion of Cassian's journey, and that's one thing that I will say to just kind of knocked it back just a little bit for me in regards to the finale. It didn't feel like a finale. It didn't feel like a finale. But overall, I love the score. The music was great too throughout the whole show. And I think the kind of stories that they were telling in the first 6 episodes this season also just didn't quite hook me. And then, you get to episodes 7, 8, and 9, and it's some of the best episodes of Star Wars television that we've ever had. And then we get to these last few episodes last night, and while I really enjoyed what we got with last night's episodes, I just feel like it could have had a little bit more. I feel like we could have had like at least maybe one more big battle sequence maybe in the last episode, which we didn't get. But I will admit that I loved Alan Tudyk coming back as K2SO. There were some really great moments with K2SO in last night's episodes, which was a lot of fun. I thought he was a great character, and also the relationship between Cassian and K2SO just starting to form, and how that goes in Rogue One when you get to that. And it's just really fascinating and really well done. I think this show is easily the best produced Star Wars show we've ever had, as well as having some of the best writing, some of the best acting, and overall pretty solid, very solid. I wouldn't say it's my favorite Star Wars Disney Plus show by any means, but it's definitely up there. I thought it was great. It was. And also, I think in regards to how they handled Bail Organa in this show, admittedly, I mean, they had to recast him because they couldn't get Jimmy Smits to come back. They tried to get Jimmy Smits to come back for Bail Organa, but he was busy doing something else, so they had to recast the character. And they didn't want to do this season without Bail Organa, so they had to recast the character. And just the recasting just seemed a bit, it was okay. I mean, I thought the actor was great in the role, but at the same time, there was something about Bail Organa's character that made him, not quite, something about Bail Organa, and not because of the recasting. I'm not talking about the recasting at all, but something about Bail Organa in this particular season of Star Wars Andor made him feel a little bit less sympathetic. I don't know what it was. I do think that he's still a really great character that's already well fleshed out across multiple projects now at this point. But there was just something about Bail Organa's character that, I don't know, he just didn't feel quite as sympathetic, and it wasn't because of the recasting. It wasn't. I think the way they were rating his character and some of the things that he the way he was in the last few episodes last night, I don't know, he just wasn't quite as sympathetic as I usually see Bail Organa as in past movies. So that's all I have to say about that. But overall, great season. Definitely one of the better seasons of Star Wars television on Disney Plus. And if I had to give this a grade, I think I'd give it about I think an A-. I think I'd give it an A- grade. And yeah, those are all my overall thoughts about Star Wars Andor. I think also, if I had to think of it any other there was that one scene earlier in the season that I admittedly wasn't too comfortable with at first, between Bix and an Imperial, Bix, Cassian's wife. There was this one scene in an earlier episode that that was controversial for me. I wasn't sure how I felt about it. And, the kind of show this is being a lot more mature. I've come to not be quite as critical about that one scene now, but it still bothers me a little bit though, even after that, and rethinking my thoughts about it. But overall, this was really good. And yeah, this is my review for Star Wars Andor Season 2. Definitely worth watching if you want a grounded level kind of story that's a lot more mature with emotional, gut-wrenching moments, similar to The Last of Us in a way, that just really hooks you, and it's just great television. So yes, Star Wars Andor Season 2, A- grade for me. It was good for the most part. And yes, also one last thing before I end this off, This July, I'm actually going away to New York with my mom. I mentioned that before in a couple of my previous videos, but I'm looking forward to that trip. And I have one more review planned for this week for Grosse Pointe Garden Society. Look forward to that as well. So that should do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.